Hey guys, today I wanted to do a video on how to use HtAG street lens or suburb level heat maps to really unearth and find value in locations on the street level as well as on the neighborhood level. Now, a lot of people speak about value in terms of gentrification. We all know the gentrification. There's been a plethora of research done. That really happens. It takes a long time to something to gentrify, i.e. to change or replace, I guess, for the economic underpinning of that area to be completely replaced. However, there are ways to find lagging assets and property within a particular socio-economic area that is neutral or high, and this is what we want to delineate or want to showcase today: how to actually find value in listings by analyzing the streets as well as neighborhoods using our street lens feature. Now, you can find our street lens feature on our suburb pages. You can just click on explore local listings with street lens, and this is what you're provided with. Now, the street lens is a very robust feature. It has a lot of metrics and filters that you can use to layer information. Today, we will use only a couple, specifically to tailor to the theme of this presentation, which is how to use heat maps to spot unrealized investment value. Now, what you've realized is that I've drawn some things on the map here, and I'll get to how this has happened. What I usually do is when I visit a suburb page like this, I enable the socio-economic layer. As you can see, I was playing with the socio-economic layer and enlarging the hexagons. Now, before I move into all of the steps that I've undertaken to really find and isolate a listing that has a lot of value, I just want to talk to you about hexagons. Why hexagons are actually a very important aspect of any heat map. What we usually see in heat maps these days is we usually see them being delineated by SA1 regions. Now, SN1 regions, governmental boundaries imposed upon the sub-suburb level. And the problem with that is that you can't use SA1 regions to really compare one against the other, one SA1 region within the suburb against another SA1 region. Reason being is because these boundaries are arbitrarily imposed. They're not imposed on the volume of houses or the volume of listings that are operating within that SA1 region, which creates a huge hurdle when it comes to comparison. Now, in order for us to do a comparison on the street level or on the neighborhood level, we need to understand that the area that we are comparing, or the two areas that we're comparing, have sufficiently or statistically significant similarity between data points that are within. Now, what usually happens on the SA1 level is that you usually get an area that is highlighted as green and has, let's say, a positive days on market. You can also filter for days on market here as well, and let's say it has a positive days on market and you think there's a lot of demand in that area. However, there's only 2 houses within that SA1 region, the rest is land. And then the adjacent SNY region to that would be color coded as red, i.e. stay away from it, and it would have potentially a little bit higher days on market, for which reason it's highlighted as red. However, that SA1 region could have 150 data points. So you're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing apples to elephants essentially. And in order to eliminate that, you need to group information by the volume of data that's underneath it. This is why hexagon group is important. And as I said to you before in this video, I was grouping socioeconomics by a different size. I can change the shapes of the hexagons, which will change the number of data points that are underneath. You can see that this hexagon here has 37 data points, while the one adjacent to it has 36. So that is very statistically similar in significance, which means that we can literally compare the two hexagons and understand which neighborhood is better than the other in relationship to socioeconomics. Now that I've actually reduced the size of the IRSAD, you can see that different areas in different neighborhoods within this area, which is Alfredton. By the way, we're looking at Alfredton at the moment. Different neighborhoods within Alfredton have different socioeconomics, and we can look at the legend on the left-hand side. So the socioeconomics of the area span between 1 to 9. So it is very wide when it comes to the socioeconomics, which is again a great opportunity. Okay. So we cannot, as I said to you before, gentrification really takes a long time to occur. However, if we have really wide span in socioeconomics, we can definitely infer that some of the areas or some of the neighborhoods will be pulled up with the more socioeconomic affluent areas that will not degrade, especially if the disparity is so large. So in this instance, we can see that it goes between 1 and 9, and the socioeconomic and the IRSAD score goes from 1 to 10. Okay, so the socioeconomic score, by the way, for Alfredton, if we scroll down, is 7. Okay, so we have socioeconomically, we have areas that are below 7, much more areas that are below 7, and then a couple of areas within, or neighborhoods within these suburbs that are above 7. Okay, putting that aside, what I wanted to do is I'm interested in 3-bedroom houses. So you can see bedroom, and I filtered in 3. I've just chosen 3. You can choose as many as you want. And when I choose 3, I'm also provided with a disparity when it comes to the listings. So you can see listings being different color. The more intense blue are actually higher value. We can see that this listed price for this one is 975k in an IRSAD area of 8 or 9, while this one here has a listing value of nearly 2 times less in an IRSAD area of 5 to 6. So the IRSAD disparity is not that large. It's still neutral, okay, because we have this IRSAD here is from 8 to 9. 9 and 10 are opportunistic, 8 is neutral. While this one here, as I mentioned before, is 5 to 6, which is also neutral, and yet the disparity in pricing is close to double the difference, okay? That's another example where I want to take advantage of the disparity. So not only do we have in this area a large disparity between IRSADs, but we also have a huge disparity, and in this instance, 2 times larger disparity in a 3-bedroom house between areas that have only 2 points difference in IRSAD, okay? 8 and 6. So that pushes me further to actually inspect this listing and see whether there is a greater opportunity. Now, guys, you can see that I've delineated some lines. You can use polygon and you can literally draw on the map, okay? I will delete this. I just wanted to show what I did. So I delineated a hexagon where this listing is listed, but I also wanted to delineate the entire area that has the same color when it comes to IRSAD of 5 to 6. Reason being is because I will change layers to introduce additional data points and see if there's a further value to the disparity that we delineated between these 2 listings being located in different IRSAD areas that are of minor difference. So the next thing that I will do is I will enable the CMA price layer. Now this is when it gets really interesting, guys, as you can see. So this listing here is located in CMA price, comparable market analysis price of 536,934. We can see that here. Yeah. Now, within the same socioeconomic region, there are also elements or portions of neighborhoods where the CMA price is 642. So we can see that there is a lot of disparity in pricing within the same socioeconomic zone. So in one area, the CMA price is 536, while in another is 642, while that all exists within the same socioeconomic area. And being within the same socioeconomic area, that would mean that the purchasing power of residents is also similar. So when I filter in the affordability, we will see the similarity in the affordability. So we can see that most of these neighborhoods that are located within the same IRSAD zone are between 24 to 26 years to own, which is extremely affordable. And yet the pricing, the difference between property prices is rather substantial, okay? That's one thing that I want to take advantage of. Another thing that we see as well is that this hexagon here, which has 67 data points, the CMA price for this hexagon is 536,000, while for this particular listing is 482. Okay, so we already have 50 to 60,000 disparity between this listing as well as the CMA hexagon. Okay, now not only do we have 50 to 60,000 difference between the listing and the CMA for the hexagon, but if I look at the adjacent hexagon, which falls within the same socioeconomic area, we see that the listing, which is 482k, it has an enormous disparity to this hexagon CMA, which is 642. So we have about 200k disparity between the listing and the adjacent CMA hexagon, which is of higher value, all of which are sitting within the same affordability zone and within the same socioeconomic zone. So what this tells me is that people have the same amount of money within this area, the property is equally affordable for everyone, and yet there is a huge disparity between the values of listings within a hexagon of same socioeconomic status. So that is a great opportunity, which forces me to really look at this listing, especially if this listing is about 50k cheaper than the CMA price for the hexagon within which this listing actually lives. Now, another very interesting thing that I want to point out, guys, is if I filter in CMA renters we see that this area, the percentage of renters, we see that there is a very high percentage of renters within this area, even though the socioeconomic status is neutral to elevated within these neighborhoods. So the percentage of renters is between 40 to 50%, if I have to round it up. Now, usually high percentage of renters is a negative aspect. However, given that these neighborhoods actually exist within neutral to elevated socioeconomics, and the property is very affordable, as we've seen by the years to own, the affordability index that we layered on top, and given that there is a lot of renters in here, this area becomes very sensitive to macroeconomic changes or interest rate reductions. So what usually happens when you have such a large population of renters, and this is what's happening in a lot of Melbourne suburbs, when interest rate environment is favorable, we see a divergence and a shift from renters to renting towards ownership. And given the fact that all of these renters live within the same socioeconomic zone, and their medium incomes are also taken into consideration, I can definitely foresee that there's going to be a huge pressure on demand and on ownership when interest rate environment actually stabilizes or even reduces. What we will see in the future in these neighborhoods is potentially we'll see a reduction in the percentage of renters and an increase in the percentage of ownership, given, as I said before, that the socioeconomic status of individuals that are living within these areas, as well as affordability, are at a high level to allow for purchasing, even now, let alone when the interest rate decreases. Just as a summary, I wanted to point out, as I said, that there is a huge disparity between CMA or comparative market analysis within the same socioeconomic zone. We see a disparity starting with 482k, and in some location the listing price outside is at 2.2 million. Now, within the same socioeconomic zone, what we see is that the listing CMA is at 482k, while adjacent CMAs for the Hexagons are going in some instances to 200k more than the listing price. And that huge disparity really allows me to take advantage of market momentum within this area. If this area has a lot of demand pressure in the future, which it does, by the way, guys, if we have a look at Alfredton's demand, it's been phenomenally improving in the last year. That means that there's more and more demand in the area. And what usually happens is that when there is not enough listings to be purchased in an area because of increases of demand flows to more inferior assets or whatever is available on the market, which pushes the price up. Now, sight unseen about this property, the fact that it's 482 and exists in a hexagon where the CMA price is 536, while there's an adjacent hexagon with a CMA price of 642, which is 200k more than the listings, really piques my interest when it comes to these listings, and it is a great unrealized investment value gap that I would like to take advantage of. So overall, as a summary, guys, the best way to utilize our hexagons is first and foremost to understand that all of the hexagons have similar volume of data points within, so you can actually compare various layers between hexagons because of the number of data points. Now, to spot the unrealized value, you would really try to delineate areas that have the same socioeconomics and the same levels of affordability, while at the same time the comparative market analysis for the price has huge disparity within those locations. And if there are any listings located within those neighborhoods that have the same socioeconomic and affordability while also having huge disparity between price, that is a great way to realize and maximize opportunity, whether you're investing purely from a market momentum perspective or whether you want to renovate and flip the listing. I hope this has helped, guys. Until next time, take care.